Thanks a lot for everyone. Thanks a lot for Mr. Pittinger. The last year, exactly about 365 days ago, we were talking here about Ukraine and Russia. Because as you know, I'm from Estonia, and our neighbor is not the best one. But unfortunately, we can't choose our neighbors. Anyway, now the 1 year is passed, and today the main topic is about artificial intelligence. The reason is that in the European Parliament, we have also a report going on, and I'm the shadow rapporteur from our political group, right-wing conservative group, to follow the steps what the EU is planning to do to control the AI. Before a small debate about American presidents. And as you know, if you're from a very small, tiny country, you can't really choose or say which kind of president US should have, because we have to live with all the presidents. And our interest, of course, is a very deep cooperation in NATO for security and defense. But on the same time, I really love facts. And the good fact was, for this 2016 to 2020 period, this 4-year period was the first time in the last 30 years when Russia didn't start any kind of new invasion. And what was the reason? Because Trump was enough crazy in the good way. You understand? Because the problem with I will not say that do I like Biden or not, but just the fact is that 2014, the Crimea was occupied during the White House period where the vice president was Joe Biden. Same thing in Eastern Ukraine. So that's why Trump was crazy enough in the good way, because nobody knew what he was going to do. And that was for us, it was very perfect. And the second thing, that finally European countries were a bit afraid, and they started to invest more in defense. Because the fact is that 63% of the budget of NATO is paid by Americans. And only, I think today, currently, about 6 or 7 countries are paying at least 2% of the GDP to defense. Before 2016, there were only 4 countries. There were US, UK, Estonia, and Greece, who paid over 2%. But finally, there was a realizing that, come on, we have to pay more for our own defense. So that was 2 good things with Trump. With the main interest for us, also in the EU, with the quantum technology, is that it is directly connected with artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, there are good things and bad things. The problem is that it's progressing anyway, and it's progressing very fast. And there are absolutely amazing possibilities to use it on the good way. But as you know, like in the world, there are good ways and there are also bad ways. If we look on China, how they're using artificial intelligence, then we can see it's a pretty bad way. So you can't really walk in Beijing without possibility that the government knows everything. Do you split something on the street? Do you cross the streets with the red lights? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? And that's why there are a very good point system. How good behavior you have. And it's terrible. But if it's possible in one of the biggest country in the world, why it's not possible also in the Western world? If we have one day some governments who thinks that, hey, it's a perfect idea. So it means that we have to really focus what China is doing, and China's best partner in the bad way is Russia. And if you talk about, again, the war in Ukraine, the one thing is that, of course, we have to give military aid. We have to guarantee that Russia has no interest in the next 5 or 10 years to start a new war against Moldova or Baltic states or Finland. But at the same time, we have to understand that you can't win the war without technology and quantum technology. For example, a few months ago, there was one amendment proposed to the report saying that, okay, we shouldn't allow to recognize by the faces 24/7 on the public spaces who are you, where are you going. But there should be allowed if the children are missing, to find missing children. How many of you have children? Okay, I have one. He's getting 4 in 2 weeks. And it's a very emotional question. If your kid is, I don't know, robbed or disappeared and you couldn't find your kids, shall we allow facial recognition 24/7 with the security cameras to identify this kid? But at the same time, this one kid is probably one person of 100,000 who's missing. But at the same time, on a 24/7, in life, you have to also recognize all the other persons. So we know exactly who's going on this street to find only one person of 100,000. What is now more worth? Is the small boy or small girl more worth than all the other people's privacy? Like, if it really my kid, I would say, of course, my kid is more important than all the others who are recognized. But then it's coming to the question, and as it is very emotional, why one underage kid is more important than maybe like somebody who's 25 years old, who has kids at home, who has parents, husband, wife? Isn't she or he enough important to use AI 24/7 to find this person? Like, I think emotionally, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, you are very, very dear for all your family members. But the question is that where are the limits? How far we can go to protect ourselves, to use it in the defense system, in security, in the public spaces, in Western Europe. The biggest concern now is that, are we safe to go to the Christmas markets in Berlin? Or maybe there are some guys coming with truck trailers and trying to kill people because they are Islamic radicals. Shall we also use the AI on the Christmas markets to find possible persons who are connected with the terrorist organizations, to protect our own security? Do we agree to give up our privacy to go to Christmas market? And that's are the questions where we don't have answers, actually, that how far we can go. Isn't it different, like if you use AI, artificial intelligence, like in the airports? Maybe that it is justified to use it in the airports because everyone who's going to airport, I'm going tomorrow again to airport, I have the knowledge that I'm anyway controlled there with my passport, with a security check, with security cameras. So maybe it should be allowed to use face recognition also in the airports, directly on the door, that we know, are you okay to go to the airport, or maybe you have some bad ideas to blow up something? Because in these places, we know it already anyway, that I'm controlled and checked. But I'm very conservative and more critical to use it like in China on the streets just for the social behavior control. But that's what's going on in China. So here are the same questions. Just I think we are forgetting very soon what happened a few years ago with the COVID pandemic. And we had several Western countries where I could say that there was terrible experiments, that how far we can go to control the societies. Just for example, Canada. It was absolutely okay for one Western country to close the bank accounts for the people who made some kind of payments for the NGOs who were protesting against the measurements. But it was okay to freeze the bank accounts because the government thought that you are a bad person if you're donating some money to the NGOs who are not very satisfied with the regulations and shutdowns in the economy from the government. I think it sounds really like China, but it was in Canada. Was it okay in Australia to put the people like for 14 days in a quarantine in the different areas out from the cities? We had also in Europe the same experiment. We had very different policies to control the pandemic. In Sweden, they didn't close anything. The schools were working, the economy was open, and finally the result was that it was much better. But of course, in the beginning, nobody knew. Nobody knew how big risk for your life is COVID. But in some countries, like in Estonia and also some other countries, the governments used the mobile apps to inform the people that, are you at risk or not? Have you been in contact with somebody who's positive? So finally, it was possible 24/7 to follow the person. Where are you? What you're doing? Because you downloaded yourself the app in your mobile phone to feel secure and safe. But finally, it was controlled by the government, of course. So now it's the question that if we have the technology was progressing more and more in faster way, and we have already the possibility to control society 24/7 on the streets, wherever you go, whatever you do we really like the idea that only because to feel safe and secured, we have to give up our privacy and the right even to do mistakes? Because in the normal society, there are always risks that some of us are not behaving very well all the time. And that's the risk of society. If we want to eliminate all the risks for the security, for our safety, then we don't have any more privacy. So, and now there's the question that where to find the balance between the security and defense, but also the privacy and your right to do mistakes.